Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Commbox Live. I'm Behram Kazi, who you can find at DefMango on Twitter. With me is my colleague Varun Alvakonda, who you cannot find anywhere on social media. And then we've got Jared Kimber, who you can find everywhere, absolutely everywhere. And we're here to review both the games at the T20 World Cup today. Let's start off with the India one. Ultimately, a 72-run victory for India. What a weird game, though, right?
I wonder, I mean, I'm sure we'll be told many times throughout the comments, but I do wonder what the average Indian fan has made of that. Was it a good game? Was it a bad game? Surely once Chakravarti got hit again, there has to be some nervousness, but Abhishek made runs, right?
Yeah.
So, and maybe Shivam Dubé never bowls again. So, there are positives there, there are negatives, everything else. But, what do you make of it, Varun? Is that a good game?
Like they've kind of fell asleep through it, right? I think I was saying in the group, this is the sort of game you would simulate in a cricket game, in the second innings especially. Like I was just asleep through the second innings. I was just so bored. Like there was nothing fun happening. Like Zimbabwe weren't trying to hit, India weren't trying to take wickets. Like it felt like 90s middle overs for me for a while. Like I was like, okay. I want this game to be done. Like I think even in our group, right, Deepak was a bit worried when Chakravarti started getting hit. So I'm like, I don't know how hard, like how much to take this game seriously because like he's bowled well the whole tournament.
I actually think there was a part of me that was like, it is a couple of times now we've seen him get hit, so maybe he's not getting the drop on the ball, right? But I was also thinking that for Shivam Dubé, I am a little bit worried about him bowling again because backup bowlers usually take that as a chance to like do their best work, right? But for frontline bowlers, I'm like, well, you don't actually believe Zimbabwe's going to score 257. So surely you are not putting everything into every delivery in the way that you normally would be. I could be wrong, but that's kind of how I read it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the spinners went for runs, right? Varun and Akshay. But then again, I feel like India just did not care at all in the second innings. Also, Zimbabwe, if you won the toss, maybe Sikandar Raza, you could bat first. Because if you give India the opportunity to bat first on a flat deck, then you're bound to score plenty of runs. And then, Jared, Zimbabwe didn't bowl any off spin in the power play, which was shocking. Even like, okay, at the start, right, Sanju's playing ahead of Rinku, he's opening the batting, you got a right-hander in there, fine. Sanju goes out, you've got two southpaws batting at the same time. One of them is Abhishek and one of them is Ishan Kishan. Both have struggled versus off spin. You, the captain, are an off spinner. Bring yourself on in the power play.
Is he an off spinner? I mean, He's kind of a knuckleball spinner, isn't he? With occasional off spin. He did get a wicket with off spin today. I mean, Brian Bennett bowled. Did he bowl 2 overs and got away with them? Like, I don't know how. I was just watching it going. Did he bowl 3? I mean, it was ridiculous.
Someone bowled 3 overs of off spin today. I don't know who bowled it.
Honestly, I thought he could have gone for 1,000 runs. And so good on him for not doing that. But yeah, look, I thought that was quite interesting. See, I would have gone really rogue today. And I passed this by Robbie, and Robbie's like, no, you can't do this. But I would have, and maybe Varun will have to look this up. While I'm finishing this thought, Varun, if you can look up Blessing's death stats, right? I'd be very, very interested.
This World Cup or overall?
Yeah, just the last couple of years is fine. Okay. Because I thought the only chance of them being less than 250 today, right, was getting early wickets. Just keep bowling Blessing. It doesn't matter at the end because Blessing still. If India have wickets in hand, it's not like he's this great death bowler who's unhittable at the end. Just bowl him when he can actually have an impact on the game. And when Ishan and Abhishek got away, I was like, well, what happens now? Now, I think to be fair, India had the weirdest 7 over to 10 over period mark where Brian Bennett
he's
stole
doing
2
under 9s at the death since 2024.
So it's 9s?
Under 9.
Under 9.
Okay, so it's not too bad. Not too bad then. I just think if you're going to use him in this game, you just use him up front and just hope he gets a second wicket, right, with the new ball. You just bowl him 1, 3, and 5. And
he's going at 11.7 this World Cup, though.
Yeah. I think you just
and
say
5.6
Yeah, you just say to Engarava, look, I'm sorry you don't get the first over because we need to bowl him for 3 here because he's our only hope.
Yeah. Well, it's fascinating, right? India score 80 for 1 after the power play, right? That's a pretty sizable total. But as you say, the next 3 overs yield no runs at all. It's the
4
off-spin overs.
I reckon.
Yeah, something like that. 3 or 4 overs. So 80 for
4
1 on the
overs,
power play, they more
9
than
runs.
triple that total, right?
Yeah.
India scored 256 for 4 in 20. They smashed 17 sixes, which has got to be some sort of record. And the only overs which were quiet overs were the off-spin overs, which were also bowled by Brian Bennett, as Jared has pointed out. But Zimbabwe, they've conceded 510 runs in 40 overs across 2 games in the Super 8s. That has to be some sort of record, guys. We've never seen that before.
It's we don't get that many high scoring games, because I know when they were doing well against when West Indies were doing well against them, I was listening to the commentary, might have been on the BBC, and they were saying that there hadn't been that many high scoring games in this entire World Cup between the Test nations. So a couple of the associates, even then, there weren't that many scores over like 210, right? And then Zimbabwe are like, well, wait a minute. We're a bowling team. Can we allow for this many runs? I mean, that's the fascinating thing about this is this is a day where their batting has, I mean, it's the same as always. It's basically 1 or 2 dudes, but it's 2 dudes. It's basically 2 dudes.
Yet somehow we had Abhishek Sharma block an off spinner. He played a perfect front foot defense.
Yeah.
And
No,
you know
it was
what's
very
fun?
weird.
Stupid game.
It was, very stupid game.
What's really funny to me is that the highest ever total at a T20 World Cup was scored in 2007, 260 by Sri Lanka against Kenya. And we've had the second and third highest scores in quick succession over here in the 2026 edition. And both of those scores had been conceded by Zimbabwe. So there's a fun fact.
Look, I think I said coming into this that I think a lot of people were very excited about them. I was like, look, this is a good bowling unit and it has worked, but they have overperformed so far. Like, you even look at this game again, it's basically the same thing over and over again. They have one incredible new ball bowler. They can sometimes get away with their spin. And then they have 2 guys who regularly make runs for them, and everyone else who, you know, and Ryan Bell's like half a batter, right? Like, Ryan Bell can do some damage if he stays in. I know he went out today, but he's had some good knocks as well. He can certainly hit when you need him to hit at times, but it's that kind of team. And yeah, they've probably been shown up a little bit in the last couple of games, but you know, if the conditions, if they got swing early on or some seam early on, and Blessing and Garava go well, and then you bring the spin on later, it's a completely different game, right? And that's just where Zimbabwe are. Even if, let's say they went with my rogue effort, right? And Blessing takes the extra wicket or 2 early on. We saw that they had the ability to score some runs as well. So, you know, it's been disappointing that they've got to this level of the tournament, and their bowling is just not held up the way that we would have hoped it would have. But they're probably not a flat pitch bowling lineup. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but they've got a swing bowler, they've got a seam bowler, they've got a couple of those sort of weird sort of spinners. They've got someone like Brad Evans who skids onto the bat on a flat pitch, right? And some of their other bowlers are, you know, more that sort of junk level where you just hope that it works, including Brian Bennett. So they're probably more set up for the earlier part of the tournament when the wickets were a bit trickier. And now they're in the part of the tournament where they've done this. Also, they're in the hard part of the tournament, despite qualifying first in their group. They're still in the harder draw on this side. So how they would have gone on the other side of the draw, who knows?
That does suck for them, and I'll continue to echo this sentiment that it doesn't make sense to have precedings in any sort of sport, but cricket likes to easy the or kind of make the logistics easy, so I suppose we're here. But it's funny, right? Zimbabwe was so successful on those sticky Sri Lankan wickets where the conditions were slow and everything, and India just hasn't suited them to the point where they've conceded the 2 highest totals in this tournament and the second and third highest totals in T20 World Cup history. And you know, I understand why you're saying that you just continue to bowl Blessing, but we had enough evidence of Abhishek and Ishan Kishan struggling versus off-spin. Abhishek Sharma faced no off-spin in the power play. His score in the power play was 33 of 13. He ultimately gets to his 50 in 26 balls, and 55 of 30 is a slow innings for Abhishek Sharma. Let's make no mistake of that. It's a good thing for India. It augurs really well for both Abhishek and India because he's finally found some runs going into that quarterfinal, virtual quarterfinal versus the West Indies. But I just thought that Zimbabwe, you know, you're already at a disadvantage because you're playing India at home at a flat deck. But you could at least get the tactics right.
Yeah, I mean, Yes,
Varun?
I thought it was a wicket where the finger spin probably stuck in the pitch a little bit anyway, right? So maybe if he knew that coming in, if he knew what was going to happen between over 6 and 10, he would have done it. But remember, you look at who you're talking about. Sikandar Raza is a fifth bowler, really on a good side, right? Yeah. And Brian Bennett is basically me. In fact, I messaged Robbie at one stage and said, "Why are they not hitting me for 6?" Right? Like, what is happening here? Why are all of these deliveries not being hit for 6? I don't understand. What happened to Shivam Dubé should have happened to Brian Bennett almost every time he bowls, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's hard to say to those kinds of bowlers. Maybe Sikandar in his prime, you might have thrown him up there. I mean, realistically, there's not a lot you could do outside of hoping that India just gave away lots of wickets. And maybe that was a sign of maturity. They were like, actually, these are the only overs we need to knock it around for, and we'll catch up. And they caught up. Probably stopped them scoring 300.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, the belligerent death overs hitting by India was just sensational to watch. Such clean striking. And at one point, my brother and I were watching and we were like, oh my God, Tilak is unbeaten on 44 of 16. Tilak is the guy everyone has issues with when they talk about strike rate, right? And we're like, will he get to a 50? Will Pandya get a single? No, Pandya gets his 50, which was just brilliant, right? He goes unbeaten on 50 of 23 and Tilak is stranded on 44 of 16. But, you know, this gives India more options. I personally feel that if they want to play Sanju, then maybe Rinku makes a bit more sense ahead of Tilak. Rinku, though, drops a catch today, the only dropped catch for India. Marumani was on 17, and that was a bit of a heartbreaker. But at one point, India stopped a care in the field as well. Do you guys remember the Shivam Dubé effort, where he didn't basically do anything? Yeah. He let the ball go for 4.
By the way, there was a great moment in the West Indies game today. I won't be on for both games, but there was a great moment in the West Indies game where they misfielded in the ring, and then the fielder out on the boundary who was mopping the ball up also misfielded. So there was a couple of very funny moments. Yeah, I mean, so I think the main takeaways are that the two batters from Zimbabwe keep holding up, and that their bowling lineup is not perfect. I'd love to talk to Sikandar and just, as you said, talk to him about bowling blessing more in the power play and using the finger spin. He's obviously a very smart cricketer. But the bigger, Zimbabwe's gone now, right? The bigger questions really are, is this what India needed for Abhishek to find form? Because even within it, this is not a particularly Abhishek-like knock, right? 55 off 30. That's like a normal attacking player's knock, not one of his.
Absolutely.
I think he was 33 of 13, right, after the power play. Like, he slows down versus the off spin. Yeah.
After being 33 of 13, he scores 22 of 17.
Of 17. Yeah.
That is just ridiculous for Abhishek, right? We don't even imagine
that is an anchor's knock there.
It doesn't matter because I thought he was playing himself into form, right? Like, clearly he was doing that. And everyone else was smashing it. But let's talk about Zimbabwe's fielding a bit, right? They were so good in the group stages, 90+% catching efficiency. That catching efficiency has dropped down into the 60s. And what is up with Musakiva, man? Dropped Hetmeyer twice the other day. Today he drops Ishan Kishan on 26. And then Muzarabani also drops Sky on 8. They've been so poor in the field, and they were known to be a really good fielding side coming into the Super 8 stage. So that's been a 180-degree shift.
They've got some great fielders. They've got some donkeys as well, though, don't they? To use the Nasser Hussain term for bad fielding. I still remember when he called... Who did he say? Was it Virender Sehwag he called a donkey?
Ishant? I think it might have been Ishant Sharma.
It might have been. You might be right. God, that really annoyed people, by the way. But but they do have some donkeys. There was a point today when the ball went to short fine leg. I think it was off an inside edge. So perhaps Blessing was slightly blindsided by it. But he ran directly at the pitch. And I was like, well, the ball can't possibly be going in that direction, buddy. And then he sort of ran around the ball. And I was like, if he just took a step to his left, would he have just fielded this? So, yeah, look, but they do have some, Brian Bennett and Sikandar Raza. Ryan Burl is a really good fielder as well. They've got some guys who are incredible fielders mixed with donkeys. And I think if that's the case, you probably, it's a bit like their batting, right? It's very similar in that there are a couple of guys that really have to do all the work. And if they don't, you go, why is this guy standing on the field? There are times when their fielding is so bad, you're like, is this guy facing the right direction?
Why is Musikiwa playing? And if he's playing, why is he fielding in the deep? What more evidence do you need that this guy can catch balls which go up in the night sky? He did eventually catch one, though. Right after I tweeted that he couldn't catch a break or a cold. He caught one.
Is that one of those situations, right, where do you field him if you've got a lot of donkeys? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, where do
But
you
he doesn't bat, he doesn't bowl, can't field. What does he do?
No, I mean, I've heard a bit for him. They do actually rate his batting quite a bit. He's made runs in List A cricket, and he's kind of, my understanding is he's come through and with the hopes that he's going to be sort of this hard-hitting player. But they don't have any batting. I mean, that's the issue. It's either you play someone like him, who I think in first-class cricket, in T20s domestically is averaging 18 with a strike rate of 142. So that's what he's there to do, right? So he's basically Asif Ali, but shitter. Right? And so what do you do? What do you pick him, or do you pick someone like Brendan Taylor and you have another anchor who's not going to put any pressure back on the opposition? And so he's clearly there for that role, but it's because they've got, I don't know, everyone is like over indexing on him. There's a few guys in their batting lineup that are probably not, I mean, people got upset when I said they only had 2.5 batters. I might have to scale it down. It might be 2.
Yeah. I mean, there is one batter of Zimbabwe that has done exceptionally well in this tournament. Brian Bennett has scored, 267 runs and has gotten dismissed once. He's averaging 267 in this tournament. Today, his effort came in a lost cause, but 34-ball half-century, which is his quickest.
277, by the way.
Oh, 277. So he's averaging 277 in the tournament. He is the second highest run scorer. His 34 ball 50 today was his highest or fastest of the tournament. And he ends up unbeaten on 97 or 59. So I hope that he fetches a franchise T20 contract or two. That's the best we can hope for.
I'm just glad we actually saw Brian Bennett hit the ball, because so far in this tournament, it's like they've nailed his feet to the crease. My God, that guy bats deep in his crease. If you guys notice, like, he is definitely going to smack. I don't know if you've done it before.
in the Australian game, he realized, okay, hitting is not working, so I'm not going to hit this whole tournament.
But then he got to India.
He's going to have some hit wicket in his career because he bats so deep in his crease. I love it. But there was at one stage where I was like, is he behind the crease at this stage? But no, it's great because we were looking at his numbers the other day for a piece that will come out later in the week, where it's like, this man whacks it, right? He really does. And the first time I saw him play was in Zimbabwe tournament, the T10 tournament. And I was like, who's this guy? He was like 19 years old, and there were some good bowlers in that tournament, and he was destroying them. The problem that they have is that, and this might actually be a problem for Brian Bennett's bank account as well, is that when he plays for Zimbabwe, I don't think he can fully attack the way that he wants to. Right? He has to pull himself because, I mean, Musikiwa is just one of many guys in that lineup. Whereas this, like, if they get to 30, they're done well. So there is an issue there. So I do think that is a part of it. And it's certainly causing some issues for him. But the other side of this is, maybe we're seeing this Brian Bennett where this is a guy who's, 22, and he seems to have more than one gear, which is another fascinating thing. Maybe in T20 cricket, it's not what people like me and Varun want to see. But overall, in the future, it's like, well, this guy could develop into anything. Because I saw him as a naturally attacking player. Obviously, I was at his 100 at Trent Bridge and have seen him play a lot. And now I'm looking at him going, if he has multiple gears, that's really important because, even some of the great Zimbabwean players are pretty much one gear players, right? The Flower brothers, those sorts of guys, even Graham Hick, very one gear type of players. They've never really had someone who's more dynamic, maybe since Dave Houghton, who can go up and down. And it looks like Brian Bennett can. It was exciting to watch him do that.
Yeah, his offside play is really, really good. That 6-over extra cover versus Dubé was special. Let's talk a bit about
I saw him
India's...
do that to Mohammad Irfan when he was 19, I reckon, as well.
All right, then. Let's talk a bit about India's bowling as well. The pick of their bowlers was obviously Arshdeep Singh. He's been having a few good days recently, which is very, very good for India moving forward into this tournament because they need to win 3 in a row to lift that trophy, right? And none for 13 and 2 power play overs was really good by Arshdeep. You expect him to do good in the power play, but he finishes with 3 for 24. The death bowling was really, really good, even though the game was done. But I thought that, he was hitting the good channels, and his pace was up today on the pace-on deliveries, and he can swing it both ways early on. So he was an issue coming into the World Cup because he was going for plenty, and now he seemed to find form.
He bowled a ball to Maramani that I think swung in both directions. Right? It was like I don't know when it was, but it was outside our stump, and I thought the TV had glitched for a moment, and I went back and watched it again, and I don't know what happened. Maybe it swung just late, or maybe it seemed and swung, because sometimes you get that. But I was just like, oh, he's completely in control of his wrist in a way that I don't think he was early in the tournament. So I don't think earlier in the tournament I was looking at him going, he's completely in control. But I think also DK might have done a little bit where he's like, no, here he is bowling the wobble ball and here he is swinging the ball. And when you can go between those two, that's different gravy, as the English cricketers would say, right? That's the top level of bowling. I thought he looked really, really good today. And, you know, they need some bowling form because not everyone's looking that great.
Yeah, you don't want to rely on Bumrah and Varun in a crunch game, and Arshdeep hitting form is good. And, you know, the rest of the Seabers, barring Dubey, had good days. Bumrah, went for 8 in the power play over, ends with none for 21 in 3 overs. And Hardik does pretty much the same. None for 12 in 2 power play overs and none for 21 in 3 overs. But he's run away with the Player of the Match award. I would have given it to my man, Brian Bennett.
So just on the Bumrah one, are we worried Varun, he got hit for another 6 today?
Yeah, it is a bit odd. Like he just sat, but then again, he had an incredible game versus South Africa, like just recently, right?
I mean,
almost all Indian bowlers got hit. So I'm like, it's so hard to track form with this tournament.
I know, it's weird because I look at it and I think it's a 257 pitch, right? Like for India.
Yeah.
So it's and Zimbabwe, he's not a great batting side, and with one guy almost got to 200, right?
And here's a relevant super chat as well with respect to this, where Andy B asks, is it a good sign when they rip up the template after one loss and rolls are all over the place? Does Bumrah look closer to his best? So I think Bumrah's form is not an issue, but Bumrah hadn't been doing too well in the previous year. Although versus South Africa, he was elite.
I don't know if they ripped up the template, did they? I just thought that, well, I mean, maybe they did with Rinku Singh.
I think they swapped the roles. I agree with that, but they definitely swapped roles.
Well, I just thought with Rinku Singh coming out the side, whether he was dropped because of form or whether because of like they had to change their roles, right? Because there's no other way of bringing. If you bring a top order batter in for a lower order batter, everyone's roles are going to have to change in this situation. So that could have been a form thing rather than a ripping up the roles. But just on it, I mean, Bumrah's gone at 7s and over. Here, so I don't think there's any issue. But he did get hit for a 6 again. Varun Chakravarti's ended up at 8.75. Sekander's probably better set up to hit Varun Chakravarti than anyone else. I don't know how many runs came off the other guys against him, but every time I was paying attention, it seemed to be more from him. So I'm not too worried about all of those things. And they've made 184, right? I thought Zimbabwe would get bowled out for about 110, 120, trying to over-attack. They didn't do that, so good on them. But if you have a look at it, the 184, it's 140 without Shivam Dube's 2 overs.
Yep, that is true.
So that does make you think a little bit differently about it then.
Those overs didn't need to be bowled either, but that's Sky for you, right? He does those sort of things. And
Tilak Varma had to bowl today, by the way.
Yeah. I was waiting for Tilak to bowl. I was disappointed that Rinku isn't playing because I was expecting him to bowl in this game too, right? But poor guy who's such a good fielder ends up dropping a catch, which was kind of harsh. Here's a super chat on Varun by Rahul Srinivas, who says, do you guys see any issues with Varun's bowling? I mean, they would be slightly worried, but I think Jared has a point where he says that Sikandar Raza is really well set up to hit that kind of bowler.
And so with South Africa. Now, that might be the bigger concern that South Africa felt so confident against him because at the moment you would back those two teams to make the final. But yeah, that would be my concern. I just wonder if he's not getting as much drop as he normally does. And that makes it easier to hit.
He's missed his length a few times. It's like South Africa game.
I think we said that in South Africa. We said that in South Africa game, and he didn't though, did he? Himi went and looked at it for us.
No, yeah. He did. He missed it a few times. It's just that they ruthlessly smashed him whenever he missed it. Like even if you miss your length, it's very rare for a team to be that ruthless against you because we know this, right, Jared? Your favorite stat is like not all free hits get hit for a 6, right? It's one of those type of things where not every bad ball is necessarily destined for a 6, but. Again,
all right, we've got.
I don't think he's looked completely in rhythm in the last 2 games, but. I wouldn't be worried because it's 2 games and he had 3 good ones before that, and he also had a good Was he a good
Yeah.
New Zealand
He looked
jersey? What did he
incredible
even do
up
in the New
until the
Zealand-
last couple of games.
Yeah.
So I'm with Varun. Maybe it's either length or he's just not getting the drop that he usually does.
Yeah, I mean,
I
there's
usually
still a
don't
game
like
to go.
looking at it after every game. I do think sometimes we can get into the trap of over analyzing. I need to see something for like a good streak before start getting worried about a player.
Plus, he's played on 2 decks over here which haven't offered him much.
That was the other thing I would have added.
Yes.
Yeah, he's going to play at the Eden Gardens next, and we've seen some tricky wickets over there, and he could be really handy versus the West Indies, who clearly only know how to slog or get out or play dot balls. We'll come to that later. There's another super chat by PPL Dunk, who says, I don't understand what Shivam Dube is up to. It's been 3 matches. He's only bowling wide of off stump and nothing else. It's very predictable. He's becoming a useless all-rounder if he continues. Today he
not an
bowled
all-rounder.
outside the pitch. Okay? That was special. And Bennett
people
played
don't.
that ball.
People don't. He is not an all-rounder. He's not even
Yeah.
close to an all-rounder. He averages 7 balls a game in T20 cricket. That is not an all-rounder. That is very and I thought, oh, maybe he doesn't bowl that many balls because of the regulations in the IPL. I'm like, no, he averages 8 balls a game for India. So India use him slightly more than he gets used with that super sub impact sub
Impact
super
sub. Yeah.
super sub OG fans will remember. But
2006?
look, Shivam Dube's not a very good bowler, man. He's just not a very good bowler. He's not a bowler. I feel bad for him every time they make him bowl. And, I think today what happened to Shivam Dube is, and I'm being really honest here, that some of Brian Bennett's missing runs went to Shivam Dube.
Yeah, essentially. And he didn't even get to bat today where everyone scored runs. Andy B asks, they got spooked by off-spin and defaulted to Gautam Gambhir's left-right bullshit when they just prepped for the wrong pitches. How were Tilak, Akshay and Dube the finishers? Is it an issue, though, when everything came off?
Yeah, I would.
No, I do think because Sanju opened, I don't think they opened. If Sanju wasn't there, I do think they would have used Raza more in the power play. So like at least one of the first 2 overs, I do think he would have bowled. Again, it's one of those things where like Sanju doesn't need to be good versus off spin. They just need to think he is good versus off spin, right? So that's why it seems why not risk an off spinner in the power play.
My counter question to that is that Sikandar Raza was bowling the first over throughout this tournament. we saw that
that's true.
consistently.
That is very true.
Which he
yeah.
shouldn't have been, by the way, because
Yeah.
they have 2 new ball bowlers that definitely
and one swing
deserve the new
bowler.
ball. Well, one swing.
bowler who needs a
That's what I'm saying. They literally have
Yeah.
2 new ball bowlers. They have 2 guys that have to have the first over, right? And I think that the argument should be: is it Blessing? Is it Angarava? Like that should be the conversation. And the conversation is like, no, guys, I got this. It's all right.
Anyway, I would bring in Rinku because I agree that, the template makes more sense if you've got a finisher, but this was fine. They won. No biggie. All right. Akshu is in next with a super chat who says, for how mid the Super 8s have been so far, that's true, right? The group stages were lit, but the Super 8s have been very, very underwhelming. At least we ended with a virtual quarterfinal. It still could be mid, but at least the anticipation should be fun. Agreed? That game we're all looking forward to.
Yeah.
West Indies versus
I know,
India
like
at
Deepak
Kolkata.
said, there is no rain, but the funniest result would be if that game got rained out. The meltdown would be
India?
hilarious.
Is India still behind on net run rate?
Oh,
They
miles
must
behind.
be. Yeah.
Okay, well-
This is what I said the other day, though. Like, all the Indian fans were upset when I said, don't worry about net run rate. Because A, the results have to go in that direction first. And B, you can always catch up on net run rate, right? But when it comes down to it, it's like generally that in these situations, in these sort of small groups, that's not what ends up happening. And it's become a knockout game, which is the much better thing. You don't want it to come down to net run rate. It's a much better way of doing it. But if the rain happens, India's screwed.
Yeah. Also, I mean, West Indies are the weaker side, but they've played in Kolkata a fair bit in this competition. India haven't.
As you
That
said,
is
it should. I mean, it should still favour India more than West Indies anyway in those conditions.
Absolutely. We've got Anish who says, is India's bowling a concern now? I would say a slight concern. I would be fretting a bit, but not too much.
I mean, the $6 is a concern. like, I think
should be no
that's
$6.
Yeah, don't
that
use
bubble
your
has
$6
burst.
anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
don't do
South
that.
that bubble has
Africa-
burst.
South Africa's form at the start of the tournament with their bowling wasn't quite on point, and it is now. So these things develop over a period of time. It could also be that Jasper and Varun have got their bad games out of the way, right?
Could mean
so.
that, yeah.
You know, I wouldn't be that concerned with it.
All right. Next super chat is just a sentiment. Prithvi says, every game Zimbabwe play, they make Australia look bad.
I don't
No,
add Sri
Zimbabwe,
Lanka
but-
to that list.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do that, you would do both. Look, I think if Australia had played in India rather than Sri Lanka, I think with their batting lineup, it would have suited them a lot better on those kinds of surfaces. So these teams were probably more on that. But yeah, Australia wasn't a very good side coming in, and they got rocked and never really recovered.
Also, I think if Mitch Marsh played all games, they probably still sneak their
that's
way
what I mean.
into
That's
the
another
third.
injury,
True,
isn't it? You know.
Yeah, he's been incredible in the 2 games he played. Anyway, Prithvi once again says, I hope Tilak recovers his lost muscles. Must have hurt a lot losing 18 power points over 3 days. Now, that's beautiful.
Okay, you need to explain this because not everyone's going to understand what this means.
The skill scale had Tilak on, 97 on power or something?
In
and
the
now
last
he's
game.
in the last game, now he's 79 on power. So that happened.
So also, I feel bad for the people because it was the wrong game, right? If he comes out in this game with 97, everyone's like, well, maybe he is a 97. What we've been told is off the record a little bit, but I'm pretty sure this is true, that there was just a mistake made on the actual graphics and they reversed 2 of his numbers. And so with I think Best of Cricket put a piece out about the skill scale. I put a piece out. I think Reddit did a piece. Like everyone was doing the skill scale on the same day. And then the next day, there's just a huge error on it. So I feel bad for the people that are involved. They are trying to do the right thing. If you want to go and have a look at the full video of me talking about it, you'll get an idea of why I think it's wrong. But they are trying to do the right thing. They're trying to educate cricket fans of what players do, which is what we should be doing as broadcasters. It just happens to be that, unfortunately, in Tilak Varma's case, he got very ill and lost his 18 points.
Yeah. I mean, look, AI is in its infancy stages, but gamifying the sport to attract casuals is a positive overall.
To be honest, I don't even think that's AI. I think someone just screwed up. Like it would have been. It's the same. Me and Varun I've probably done the exact same thing on videos before. It's just that we're not on the TV coverage, so no one notices it.
Yeah, well, David Miller, 64 power, and what was it? Shivam Dubey, 84 threat, Jimmy Neesham, 93 threat. We've seen a lot of things.
It took everything I had, guys, to not tweet. Whoa, I don't understand how this 84 threat bowler is being taken down for 46 runs.
All right, Kaushal Talpadi asks, did Bennett play for the IPL contract? Aren't we all playing for the IPL contract? Aren't you and I, Jared, playing for an IPL contract right now?
Also, like the wrong way to play for an IPL contract. Nobody's gone about it.
True.
I still think he's a step away, but the next couple of years, if he keeps developing the way he is, then he's got.
I think the issue is I don't think you get into the IPL unless you're like a high intent overseas batter. But I can't possibly see how he can be high intent with this batting lineup.
I was going to say he is a high. I mean, everything in his data suggests he is, and every time I've ever watched him, he is a high intent. But you're right. When he plays for Zimbabwe, he's going to have to lower his intent because he doesn't have a choice.
I'm pretty sure he'd love to be like a 30, 180 type batter, but the problem is Zimbabwe will probably be 130 all out every game if he is.
Every game.
Yeah. Also, Robbie on comms today said that there's no room for an anchor anymore. Cheyenne went crazy in the chat. We have a convert here.
We converted
Rohit
him.
Kumar Jha. Rohit Kumar Jha says, how does the SA20 become so good compared to the Big Bash League in 100 in such a short time? Also, does a 14-team ODI World Cup seem less? We should fast-track teams and give them exposure.
SA20 is a stronger league than the Big Bash because there's more money in it for the IPL owners. The 100 hasn't had that, and the BBL hasn't had that. So we'll see what happens with the 100 now that it has more money in it. But also, South Africa is the favorite for I don't know if they're favorite, but they're probably second favorite for the tournament at the moment, depending on which bookmaker you look at. And Australia weren't in the Super 8s. So there is more depth in T20 cricket within South Africa at the moment than there is in Australia. And England is probably, in a bit of a down curve after having a couple of years where they were really good as well. As far as 14 teams in the World Cup, it's not enough. No.
Yeah, SA20
there's
is successful
only,
because
21 teams with ODI status. So I don't know how much bigger can it get.
We could give more status.
Yeah,
That's always
I would like a
Well, you
bigger
get temporary
ODI World Cup for
status.
sure.
I think they did that. Didn't they do that once to Hong Kong in an Asia Cup?
No, it was that used to be how it was up until recently, Varun. That you would teams would play their only ODIs in World Cups. That traditionally that was the case. It's only just started to change a little bit more now.
Yeah, and SA20 is good because South Africa's team is really good. They've got some great talent over there.
Too.
Yeah. over here, Shiva Subramaniam is saying Pakistan made us believe Dubey is a good bowler during the Asia Cup finals where he bowled 2 overs at the power play and gave only 12 runs. So Pakistan makes a lot of non-bowlers look good. Go check out Marcus North at Lords. That's my favorite one. But that sort of wicket does suit bowlers like Shivam Dubey. You have to remember that as well.
I would say that Shivam Dubey is what's he bowl at? About 132 Ks. He's tall, he's strong, he swings it a little bit. His best ball on a wicket that suits him and he can hit the pitch is fine. The problem is very few pitches suit him. By the time he gets the ball, it's almost never swinging, right? And so if you bowled him just when the conditions were in his favor, he'd be a really good sixth seam option, right? Or sixth bowling option. But when you're trying to use him as a death bowler or you're trying to use him on the wrong kind of wicket, he's basically boiled cabbage, right? And it's not going to work for him. It's a bit like Brian Bennett. Brian Bennett is a shithouse bowler, but this wicket and this matchup today worked for him, and so he got away with it. Watch Brian Bennett in some of the other overs in this tournament, and you'll be like, why is he bowling? Why is he allowed to bowl against India?
Okay, last super chat before you can leave, Jared, and Varun and I can cover the last game. Prakash Patel, I don't know what your name is, buddy, but he asks, is Bennett also qualified for a documentary now after hitting Bumrah for 6? Absolutely he is. Make
To be
that
fair,
documentary right now.
that 160 hit was unbelievable.
Put it on a t-shirt.
What about if just in the future, like Bumrah is just like, he retires and he's got enough money and he's like, what if I just appear in all these documentaries?
I talk about how that guy when he hit me for 6, right?
Yeah. I would love that. I would love if his social media just turns into him talking about how these guys hit him for 6. And that's all he does.
Anyway, that's it for the second game's review, and that's also it for Jared Kimber. Thank you for joining us, Jared. And before you leave, actually, there's another super chat, so might as well.
I've got to go. So you guys can take care of it. I'm gone.
Cool. All right. Okay, he's gone. Okay. And Muku, you need to fix the frame. Fix the frame, buddy. We've got like lines in between our faces.
Also, anyway, great time to take an ad break, Baram, before we go.
Yeah. Now let's just take this super chat, right? Prithvi says, I'm pretty sure DK said there's no role for anchors and comms today. Interesting coming from RCB batting coach. So Cheyenne double checked. We work with Robbie. I trust Cheyenne that he recognizes Robbie's voice. But maybe you're right. Maybe Cheyenne's wrong. I don't know. Learning videos by Nikhil thinks that Uthappa said it. I don't know, man. Anyway, this is a very opportune moment now to take a break. You guys are watching Commbox Live with Varun and Behram now. Jared has left, and go nowhere because we will be back after a very, very short ad break.
100 years ago, something truly remarkable happened in cricket. No one knew how to get Bradman out. And so some of the smartest minds in English cricket got together in a smoke-filled room at Lords and they talked it out. It is no different than you talking with your uncle, with you whispering at the back of the bus, with you sitting around in the tea room arguing with your friends. This is what we do in cricket. We love the game, we talk about the game. And that is what we do at Commbox, where the game lives on.
Welcome back to Commbox Live. You guys are with Behram and Varun, and we have another game to review. South Africa defeated or destroyed the West Indies ultimately by 9 wickets and 23 balls to spare. And that victory of South Africa's essentially meant that India will have to win 4 games in a row to lift the cup or defend their title, right? But what did you make of this game, Varun? Because that first innings was batshit crazy. If it were a Powerpuff Girl, the ingredients would be 6s, wickets, dropped catches, and maybe a 4th ingredient, dot balls. It was insane to watch. The West Indies were 83 for 7 after 10.2 overs. They ended up posting a target of 177, which was just madhouse stuff.
Yeah, like did it surprise you that that partnership was only 89 or 59?
Yeah,
like
you know what?
It felt so crazy, right? It felt like what New Zealand did for a bit.
So what really surprised me was that Jason Holder ends with 49 of 31. He's run out, right? In my head, the more explosive batter in that partnership was Romario Shepherd, not Jason Holder. And Romario goes unbeaten on 52 of 37. That is the most explosive and violent 37-ball 50 I have ever witnessed in my life.
No, he was 41 of 30. I'm like, how the hell is he only 41 of 30? If Barbara Azam was 41 of 30, both of us are asleep half the time.
Agreed. Well, that's the West Indies way. It's dot six wicket, dot six wicket. It was 6 and out constantly, but full credit to both of Jason Holder and Romario for making a game out of it. I mean, there wasn't much of a contest in the second innings, but at least West Indies didn't get bowled out for nothing, right? I mean, 83 for 7 in 10.2 overs to what? 176 for 8 in 20? That was a remarkable feat. And the power play was interesting. The West Indies started off brilliantly. Then they lose 4 wickets and they were 52 for 4 after the power play. And I remember my dad was watching with me and I was like, it's a flat deck. If they don't lose wickets, they could still get to 200. Then they lose wickets. I'm like, they'll be done before 100. And then they end up with 176. So bizarre.
I honestly think if Hetmeyer survived the power play and faced Maharaj, he could have probably hit him for 70. Like, Maharaj got smashed all over the place, and none of them can play spin without Hetmeyer doing anything. It was such an odd like sequence of things that just happened, right? I think what happened was West Indies probably correctly identified this was like a 220 pitch, and then you had to do it because, like, even, although their bowling attack has overperformed this tournament, you can't keep. I don't trust them to keep delivering again and again, especially on a flat pitch. So you had to get above par, especially because the South African batting lineup is also a very good batting lineup. I think the problem is that is one of those games that they tried over attacking, and it just did not work out for a bit. Like it was just one of those games.
I was quite fascinated by South Africa's decision at the start, right? Like they've played a lot at the Narendra Modi Stadium in this tournament. Like they've played probably the most number of games in this particular ground, and they know this or these conditions well now. And South Africa win the toss, and Aiden Markram opts to field first. And I was thinking, you just defeated India batting first, but then I was kind of trying to be Markram and put myself in his shoes. And I was like, maybe he's thinking that the conditions or the pitch will slow down in the second innings because it's a day game. That wasn't an issue. The toss wasn't, even a talking point. But then he gives Keshav Maharaj the first over and he concedes 17 runs. Now that was a fantastic start to the game.
Like, I understand the thinking in theory because you have 2 right-handed batters, and like usually Shea doesn't go that ballistic that early. Fair, I could give him that. Like, it was just so funny though. Like the whole the first 10 overs was absolute cinema. Like, it was so good to watch. Like, it was stupid cricket. There was elements of good batting, right? Good bowling, like bad bowling, bad. It was fun. It was really fun, right?
Yeah.
I think the game just went downhill after this first innings. Like that does happen, but yes, the first innings was fun.
I mean, it was top tier entertainment. That was my favorite moment of all of the cricket that we saw today, right? Like, it was just fantastic to watch. But this wasn't a black soil pitch like we saw in the India-South Africa game in Ahmedabad, right? This was a red soil pitch, and so we saw some bounce. And I thought the West Indies had the right idea to attack, but they had to factor in extra bounce a bit, because South Africa's bowlers tend to generate a lot of bounce as well, even though Janssen has a poor day with the ball. But I think they did get undone by bounce a bit at the start. And had they not lost those wickets in clusters, this was surely going to be a 200 plus total by the West Indies.
Agreed. Yeah. It's again like it's very interesting that South Africa have done very good job at identifying what lengths to bowl, because just like last game versus India, they were bowling full and slow versus India. Like, you got to give them credit. They do their homework well. Their bowling plans are usually really good. I think Rabada finally got his rhythm on point today, so he bowled really well. So he was hitting that hard length on point again, back again and again. Even Lungi as well. Like Lungi also Lungi started off with that length, and the death overs we saw him go full straight slow. And he's been unplayable when he does that, right? That it's so rare for a bowler to it's other than Jasprit Bumrah, I've not seen another bowler bowl the slot balls as often as he has and not get hit many sixes, right?
I want to talk a bit about Lungi Ngidi because I haven't been his biggest advocate. Like I'm the sort of dude who prefers pace, and a few months back I would have said that, hey, I'd probably have Andrik Nokia in the team, even though he is, a hot and cold bowler. I love pace. But Lungi Sani Ngidi has been so incredible with that dipping slower ball. He's literally been unplayable, and he is having an incredible T20 World Cup campaign. He's been one of the best bowlers on display. Today, he removes Brandon King with his 4th delivery, and in the same over, Roston Chase is out as well. He chops on, I think, off the last ball of the over. And in the one power play over that Lungi Ngidi bowls, he's initially gone for runs. Then he takes 2 wickets. So 11 runs conceded, 2 wickets taken. And then he comes back to remove Rovman Powell as well, which at that point was a very crucial wicket. So 3 for 30 for him. I actually think he was the player of the match, because that death over that he bowled, he went for 5 runs, if I can remember correctly? Something like that, right?
Yeah, I think one of them, was it an edge 4 as well?
Yeah,
in that
the
like I'm
4 was also an
misremembering.
edge.
Yeah.
Yeah, Romario tried to
He
whack him, and it was an
he
outside edge that
definitely
went
should
down to
have been
third
the
man
player of the
fence.
match. Like I don't know
Yeah.
why Markram got it. Like I hate this is the sort of shit that annoys me. Give the bowlers the player of the match on a flat pitch, you idiots.
Yeah,
Who's doing
surely
this?
you give the bowlers the
Yeah.
player of the match award on the flat pitch, right? And like South Africa had won the game in the power play, right? They had scored 69 runs for the loss of no wickets in the power play, and when you're chasing 177, it's game over with 10 wickets in hand on a flat deck, and you need to go or just cruise at this point. Don't even need to take much risks. That game was over. So I don't know how much that Markram innings counts then, because Quinton de Kock was also firing on all cylinders in the power play, right? Like he had a really, really plus knock, and
Yeah.
Ryan
Also,
Rickleton also.
I think West Indies seamers had the bowling plans reversed because you had to bowl back of the length to Markram and good length to QDK. They were bowling good length to Markram and back of the length to QDK and full on his pads. Like, what the hell are you doing?
I don't
He's
know
very good at
why.
that.
I don't know why teams let Quinton de Kock rock back and pull, right? Like
Yeah.
you don't do
Also,
that.
I think the moment I looked at Moti's stats, I was like, he's not going to do well on this pitch, lads. Like he
Man,
bowls too full on this, and if QDK or Rickleton survive, like play him, they will smash the shit out of him.
you
And
remember
Chase
yesterday?
promised to bowl well, and then he doesn't.
I'm pretty sure you watched the show yesterday where I was with the two Robs. I was in a Rob sandwich, right? And we were talking about this game due to a super chat or something. And I said, look, the West Indies have slow left armers. Even though Akil didn't play today, they brought in Roston Chase, but should have just brought in a seamer, honestly, on this track. Didn't need another spinner, right? And Chase did nothing in this entire game. But I was making the point that West Indies have slow left armers. And Moti was definitely going to play. And South Africa have 3 southpaws who are really, really explosive in Quinton de Kock, Ryan Rickleton and David Miller. And de Kock and Ryan Rickleton, they score like high 40s, but quick fire high 40s. Those knocks don't get talked about because they weren't top scores, but they do a lot of damage in their own time, right? So that's why, because every batter does well, did Markram really deserve it, Varun? The player of the match award.
No, he definitely does not. Also because like I don't want to belittle his innings, but it wasn't like an really explosive innings. What was it, like 88 or 48? I'm like,
Yeah,
that's
so
what like a normal T20 inning. That's a decent T20 innings on a good pitch, lads. I mean, it's not. If it was like 120 or 48, I'd fair enough give it to the lad, right? I'm like,
yeah.
it
The
wasn't
thing with
that
Aiden
nuts.
Markram is he is a really attractive bat, and there's this one
That's true.
4 or 6 he hits off Holder, I think it was a 4, where I thought he's gone, right? Like he tried to like slap him over long on, and I was like, oh, top edge, bye Aiden Markram, and Holder's like, catch it. And that ball goes for 1 bounce 4. I think I was like, what the hell is happening over here? But Aiden Markram didn't even play a chanceless knock. He was dropped on 21 by Brandon King, which I think has injured Brandon King. And then he was dropped on 55 by Roston Chase off his own bowling, although it's harsh to call that a drop. But yeah, like 27 ball 50, and he was unbeaten on 82 of 46. South Africa won this game due to their bowling at the start. So yeah, I mean, look, we can always cry about these things. Rob Barron can lose all of his pounds and sterlings on these things because he loses a lot of money routinely on player of the match bets. But what can we do? No disrespect to Aiden Markram, though. He was terrific still. And he has been having a really good campaign.
like
He's what,
Markram
third highest
when
run
he's-
scorer?
Yeah, Markram when he's on form is one of the scariest base hitters you'll ever see, right? Like he's so good versus it. It's spin where I'm like, okay, like you could probably get him, but this is not the pitch where I don't think he's once he's set, I don't think he cares much.
Honestly, it wasn't even the best knock of the game. Again, I'm not trying to throw shade at the guy, right? Because it was a top knock, and Aiden Markram is third highest run scorer in this competition, so clearly he's doing something right. But that record partnership, which is a record partnership, by the way, Varun, for the 8th wicket in T20 internationals, no one has ever scored 89 runs. So this 89-run partnership is actually a record. But Holder's 49 of 31 and Romario's unbeaten 52 of 37 came when West Indies were 83 for 7. So
Yes.
I don't know, man.
And it's
I'd give those knocks
and
more
that
weight.
Also, by some distance, the fastest, slowest 53 of 37 both of us have ever seen.
Absolutely. Never will I ever call a 37 ball 50 explosive. Usually I say that's 3 to 4 balls too late, but Romario made it feel like it was an 18 ball half
Farhan
century.
did it recently, right? And everyone was
Twice.
tagging him off when he did.
Farhan did it recently twice, and I know you watched the Pro Sports pods, right? That's the one thing, Saad, and I always point out, that why is your first 50 so slow? God damn it! Like get it there in 32, 33 balls. But anyway, Romario showed us how it's done. That's the way you score 37 ball half centuries. Let's talk a bit about the fielding. I did mention how there were 2 drops in the West Indies bowling innings where Markram was dropped twice, but both of those were really tough chances. The absolute shithouse level of fielding that we saw was in the first innings by South Africa. Hetmeyer was dropped on 0 by Bosch, did not hurt them because Hetmeyer fell in the same over. Rutherford was dropped on 3 by Lungi Ngidi, did not hurt them because Rutherford didn't add very many runs after that either. Holder, however, gave a chance on 23 where the ball was looping towards Keshav Maharaj and he couldn't even get there. And Lungisani Ngidi was really pissed when that chance wasn't taken, and Holder did take the most of that, or make the most of that. South Africa are a team not known for fielding errors, and there was this one game, I think the Canada game in the group stages, where they dropped like 4. What's going on? They're usually so clinical.
Yeah.
And they were so good versus
horribly
India.
today, right?
They dropped 2 versus India, but they were so good, both ground fielding and catching. I don't know what was happening today. This innings could have ended like an eternity ago had they taken their catches.
Yeah, I think like Michael Vaughan was saying this on Cricket Buzz. Like if we say that we give the bowling like a 7 overall because they kind of give it up in the last 10 overs, you give their fielding a 3, and you probably give this batting effort like a 10, right? Like, and they still won this so convincingly. Like they basically fell asleep on one discipline and weren't at their best in the other, and they still won on such a dominated way against a team that was in very good form, by the way, right? It's not like they did it against a shit team. So
yeah,
that is probably a good sign for us. It's a good and a concerning sign, if it makes sense. You don't want to repeat this again and again, but it's the fact that you could have flaws and still be this good is always very impressive.
Yeah. We'll definitely come and talk a little bit more about South Africa because they are the only remaining unbeaten team in this competition. And for me, they were always the second best team on paper anyway. And they are proper contenders. They must have been hurting for 2 years after losing that final. Or, I usually don't like to use the C word, but they did choke in that final versus India. So, they'd want to make amends and win this trophy. And now they've recently won a World Test Championship as well. And they have some all-format players who were playing in that playing 11 and are in this team as well. Markram, who scored a ton in that final. Got Rickleton, who played that final. Rabada, Janssen. Maybe I'm forgetting someone. And speaking of KG Rabada, how good was he? We were waiting for the Rabada day, right? Because he's usually hot and cold. And he had one economical game versus New Zealand where he didn't go for many runs. But today he was incisive. And in his first over, in fact, right, he gets Shea Hope with his second ball. And then he dismisses Hetmeyer twice right after that. First Hetmeyer is dropped and then he gets Hetmeyer again. 2 for 7 and 2 power play overs and 2 for 22 overall. So good in all phases. He was terrific today. And, South Africa need KG Rabada to be firing in those upcoming knockout games because, then their bowling attack becomes even more lethal.
Yeah, like he's taken, I think, 4 wickets this World Cup and all 4 have been in the power play. So he's only been bowling well in the power play for some reason, which is very odd. So I think today was like the game where he kind of did well in the middle overs as well, and his death overs has been a bit. Even at his best, I don't think he was ever an economical death bowler. Like relatively speaking, of course. Like no death bowler is ever economical, but yes.
Okay, I don't have much to talk about over here.
Yeah.
So let's just start taking super chats, right? Although this was the game that probably deserved more conversation, but like we kind of summed it up already.
Okay, this was such a promising day on paper, right? And it was such a shit result in the end of it.
Yeah, look, the Super 8s have been quite underwhelming in that regard because generally we want to see the groups to remain open till the very end and maybe, different teams have qualifying scenarios. But Pakistan are probably going to be out tomorrow because I don't see New Zealand losing to England. And even if New Zealand lose to England,
I think
Pakistan
this was the
Sri Lanka.
game where West Indies, South Africa needed to be 2 super overs and India, Zimbabwe had to be a close game. That's what we needed.
Exactly. But now, look, everyone's going to obviously, for all the right reasons, favor India in the virtual quarterfinal versus West Indies. But because it's Eden Gardens, and India haven't played in Kolkata yet, West Indies have. And if it's not a flat deck, there is a bit of hope for the West Indies. So Samit Khan over here has a super chat where he says, was half expecting South Africa and West Indies to pull a Germany versus Austria World Cup 78 disgrace of Guy Jean and screw India. And now, as a Proteas fan, I am bracing for the classic 8th game implosion, and I'll be back here needing the Commbox therapy. Well, hopefully we're here with you with good news as well throughout the tournament. You never know, this might be South Africa's year. But they couldn't have done that, Varun, because South Africa still technically have to play Zimbabwe, right? So they cannot screw India over even if they wanted to because you can't take cricket for granted.
Yeah, also what happens if that game is wash out, right?
Exactly. You want to secure your spot you want to go through to the semis, right? And South Africa are now the second team to have qualified for the semifinals. It's funny. On one hand, England became the first team to qualify for the semis and they've been terrible, for the lack of a better word. So dodgy. And South Africa have pretty much been the best team, on the field in this tournament, barring the Afghanistan game perhaps, where they were quite shaky. And now they've made it to the semis as well. So 2 more spots to go. Tomorrow we might have more clarity on the other group, but it might end up being an interesting knockout phase, if not for a Super 8 one, because this has been dull. We're not going to sugarcoat it.
Agreed.
Okay. Super chat by Midlife Maza says it should be Benjamin Netanyahu Stadium now. No comments. And Prithvraj75 says, loving these daily end of day reviews. Hope you will continue them for the IPL also, and or a daily end of day series covering all cricket from that day. Maybe channel memberships, because I'd definitely pay for that. I can tell you, Preet, that there are a lot of plans underway. We are currently waiting for more clarity, but let's cross our fingers together and pray to, the cricket gods or the YouTube gods or whatever, that things start to really kind of, go up a notch. And we've been hoping for quite a while. And it's a really fun team over here. Everyone gets along really well. We're a super nerdy group. Here's to hoping that Commbox reaches new heights in this upcoming year. I'm definitely feeling a bit encouraged and hopeful.
Indeed.
Varun has no words. He just says
I
indeed.
have no words, yes. I always say indeed.
Okay. Some parting words over here. South Africa unbeaten. They deserve to be unbeaten. They've played that sort of cricket as well. They somehow survived the Afghanistan game and they haven't looked back since. Would you say that this is their best chance at winning the T20 World Cup in recent times? Because I feel like they look a bit more sorted in this competition than perhaps in the previous one. I don't know. Even though they don't have Klaassen.
Yeah, so who will they go up against in the semis? If they
Does it matter?
assuming they will finish the top. No, I'm just wondering.
I mean, if conventional wisdom is anything to go by, then New Zealand should be able to beat England, right? And that means that South Africa face England.
South Africa.
And if
they face England or New Zealand.
Nizam's, if Qudrat Nizam's hard, then New Zealand lose by a lot of runs to England and Pakistan sneak, only Pakistan can sneak through, not Sri Lanka. If Pakistan sneak through to the semis and play South Africa in Colombo, then anything could happen. But I highly doubt that's even a possibility.
So if I'm South Africa, I'd much rather go up against New Zealand in the semis because, as you're saying, New Zealand, even though they're very good, they're very predictable. But New Zealand, historically, their big flaws, as you guys were discussing recently, is they don't always give you a 10 out of 10 game.
Yep.
Which is why they haven't won a lot of tournaments. The problem is if they go up against England in the semis, you never know what England might turn up. And that's a lot of high variance in first semis.
Very, very volatile team.
And if Pakistan Qudrat Khan Nizams, you don't want to go up against them in the semis either.
So either way, because let's assume India qualifies for the semis, right? Let they beat the West Indies. So India will play the semi-final at the Wankhede. There is still a semi-final in Colombo, if I'm not wrong, regardless of whether or not Pakistan qualifies, because this is also Sri Lanka's home tournament.
No. I believe it's if Pakistan or Sri Lanka qualified, they play in Colombo. Otherwise, it's Kolkata. I think that's what I read some. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know. I remember reading that recently.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of videos, even by Cricinfo on that, but I haven't bothered, right? Because when the time comes, we'll figure it out.
So if India qualifies, it's definitely a Wankhede, and if Pakistan or Sri Lanka play, it's definitely in Sri Lanka. I don't know what happens if one of those teams don't play. I think it is at Eden.
Oh, it is at Eden. Yeah, so we've got confirmation. I mean, Kolkata is probably where South Africa want to play England, because England don't want South Africa don't want to give England a flat deck, because England are volatile, but only when the conditions favor them, right? Otherwise, they're volatile in the other direction. Then they slump hard.
The thing is, Kolkata can be anything. We saw in the IPL, it can be a mega road as well, right?
Yeah, it can be a toothpaste wicket as well.
It's weird. Like every time I've seen Kolkata be a toothpaste wicket, you still make 180 there. So it's interesting. And the other thing, we always say England can't play spin. South Africa haven't played a lot of spin this tournament.
Well,
and Maharaj has been very iffy, right?
So has Adil Rashid. He had one spectacular game versus the West Indies, and after that, even when he's taken wickets, he's gone for runs, right? I don't think Adil Rashid has had any single game after this West Indies game where he took 2 for 16 in 4 overs and got the ball to turn 12 degrees. I don't think he's gone for less than 30 after that.
No, I think he's still been turning it. He's just not been bowling well. It's just been one of those tournaments. And then also, India doesn't really suit his style of bowling much. I think he bowls too slowly, slightly.
Yeah. Anyway, so let's see. I mean, it would be really interesting to see South Africa go up against England, which is the probable outcome over here. But if they go up against New Zealand, you know, an 8 on 10 performance by New Zealand could eliminate South Africa on a bad day for South Africa. We have to consider that as well, right?
I trust that this team, the South African team, enough to not give a bad game at this point, right? What would you say the South African team is like a 9 out of 10 team, right? Realistically,
I gave them 8.75 yesterday. I gave India 9.5. I gave
I'll
South
give them
Africa
a 9.
8.75. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, look, the only issue they have for me is that they don't have a good second spinner. Like on most days, Aiden Markram is the second
Here's the
spinner.
thing, though.
And
They had a
Maharaj
good
is
first
not having
spinner.
yeah, Maharaj is not having a good tournament. If they play on a surface which is aiding spin, then South Africa could falter, and they have a history of faltering on those sort of surfaces. But on the flip side, they just defeated India in India in a test series 2-0 in conditions that turned. So there's a lot going on over here. New Zealand aren't that bad a team playing spin either, right? Like they are one of the better Senna teams to play spin. They're definitely better than England, which is why I have them as winners for tomorrow. So it'll be interesting. You know, as dull as these Super 8s have been, I think we might get some thrillers in these upcoming knockouts. And
So what do we want tomorrow, right? We want England to beat New Zealand, right? For everything to be open.
we want England to beat New Zealand by like 30 runs so that we can at least be realistic about the Pakistan game, right? Like, because Pakistan cannot beat Sri Lanka by 60 runs, even if they win that game, I feel. Also, it's
No, I think
Palekele,
they
bro.
can if
if
they can if they bat first, I think, because I did like the way Sri Lanka have batted this tournament, Behram. Fucking hell, they've been dumb. Like you could make a very good argument that they've been a dumber batting side than England and Pakistan, which is a massive achievement. Like,
yeah.
right?
You're right. It's quite fascinating, right? Because Pakistan and Sri Lanka have played each other a lot recently, and Pakistan have won most of the games. But Sri Lanka will be playing for pride, and if England somehow defeat New Zealand tomorrow, Pakistan will know exactly how much they need to defeat Sri Lanka by. You know where it might get tricky? There is dew in night games at Palekele, and Salman Aliaga is getting bashed left, right, and center for opting to bat first in the game with dew, right? He might opt to field this time, and can you imagine Pakistan chasing down a total in a small amount of overs if need be? I cannot.
I genuinely don't trust the analysts to know how much they need to win, chase a total.
There's also that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Like, it's
this
anytime where there's
conversation-
like DLS or NRR like chases involved, I'm like, okay, like I think Pakistan's Kudrat ka Nizam is usually like when they're like some other team needs to banana peel slip, right? That's when that comes in, not when they need to
Yeah.
do like what do you call it, calculated chasing. That's when I don't trust them. So
Yeah, I mean, look, if Kudrat does Nizam harder than ever before, and I say this because I feel like Netherlands defeating South Africa in 2022 was more likely than what this scenario is. New Zealand to lose to England and then Pakistan to beat Sri Lanka by a certain margin. I don't see it happening. But if it happens, hypothetically, I would not want to be South Africa. You know, like,
I agree.
I
Like,
wouldn't want to play with that.
That's the one, especially because they'll be playing in Sri Lanka, which they haven't done this whole tournament, right?
Yup. So that would be the worst case scenario for South Africa. But anyway, I think we're done with all the super chats as well. This was a really fun live, guys. Thank you for all of your interactions and all of your super chats. Also, don't forget to follow Commbox everywhere. Like, share, and subscribe, and tell your buddies about what we're trying to do over here and achieve over here. And we'll see you once again tomorrow after the England versus New Zealand game on a live show. Till then, you guys have fun, enjoy yourselves, and try to enjoy the T20 World Cup. Take care and goodbye.
Cricket has never finished at the close of play. It lives in the arguments, the memories, the comment sections. Cricket makes you talk. Commbox is entering that chat.